Alright, then here we go. Let's start with the Rainbow Road tutorial. Rainbow Road is an amazing track. I'm sure you all know it from Mario Kart or F-Zero X, of course. If there was ever a track that's great for drifting, it's this one. But still, even if you insist on grip driving, it's easy enough to beat the Step Ghost. So that's what I will start out with. 4 different strategies. Step Ghost gets 155. That should be doable for everyone, for sure. Yeah, so I started with a pretty simple grip driving style strategy, and then 3 more strategies with increasing difficulty that focus on drifting. Start out with some simple dives in strategy 2 and more complicated dives in 3, and then going all out with all the tricks I know that people use and that I personally use for the final one. There's a lot of potential on this track to go faster than the world record, so we'll see that. So let's watch strategy 1.
Ghost Power!
Yeah, we're doing Rainbow Road first. Doesn't matter really. So, as you can see, first strategy I'm choosing the Red Gazelle, and that's because on this track there's a big jump that you can do right from the start. So there's a heavy focus on preserving a very high speed above your ship's base speed. And heavy ships do that a little bit better, so the settings are around +5 with Red Gazelle just for that reason. So yeah, let's analyze. It's not very hard, 2 out of 10. So you start out by just driving off the road immediately on the either left or right side, doesn't matter at all. And you want to really dive down because you want to land on the downsloping part of the track, about at the bottom of course. So if you do that really well, you have around 1500 kilometers per hour left when you land. Around this corner you will need to use some side attacks just to keep your grip. And then, the basic principles of driving in F-Zero X: keep straight lines, minimize your steering as much as possible, take the insides of turns, maybe not as extreme as in the video, but you get the idea. On lap 1 this corner should be fine to take without side attacks. And even though the step ghost is drifting with Night Thunder, a good hint that you should probably do the same. We're still ahead of it just because of that first jump, and we want to preserve the speed as well as we can. This is a tricky corner. You want to stay a little bit on the outside here. Side attack first, then steer along the apex through the corner. Now there's a little hill here again, and we can win just a little bit of time here if you again drive off the side and dive down, but don't push it too much, especially not in lap 1, because you have to land back on the track again, and we're really not going that fast. So yeah, keep a good line through this corner, and we should stay ahead of that step ghost. Now this final corner is very long, a long spiral with some mines, and the ideal driving line is on the inside of the mines. That can be very tricky, so in your first attempts you might want to steer around them to avoid them. Yeah, just keep a straight line into lap 2. And lap 2, boost immediately and drive off the side again, of course, for a jump. Yeah, don't boost. Forget what I said. Just drive off the sides, and we want to boost when we land to preserve the speed. I didn't pay attention. Yeah, you can boost when you land, that's all fine. It might actually be faster to do that. It's probably a little bit easier if you take the turn going not as fast, and then boost after the corner when you have a straight road ahead of you to build up some speed here. You can do these little jumps, but that's icing on the cake. That's really not necessary. Again, boost after the corner. That's just to keep it simple, really. I remember that's what I decided to do. Of course, don't push it too much because this corner is very tricky if you go too fast, and you cannot drift. Boost again. Now we're going a little faster here, so the jump can be just a bit bigger. Boost again. So I'm using all the energy in lap 1, and we're not going that fast. But now we don't want to take the inside completely. It would also be very dangerous because we have no energy. Just go in the refill strips, and you should refill completely. Don't boost here because we want to focus on refilling the energy. So you can boost and refill completely anyway. Just one boost in the middle. So again, lap 3, drive the sides, really push that nose down, and then yeah, land on the downsloping part to keep the most speed that you can possibly do. Side attack to the corner, and then after the corner, start boosting when you have a clear road ahead of you. Yeah, so this long corner you want to keep side attacking Z up to around this point when you are at no risk of losing grip. Boost again after the corner. Stay a little bit on the outside, side attack, and steer fully left to go around here. Boost again, build up some speed for the dive, boost again during the dive. And just use up all your energy really until you get to the refill strips. You want to hold open the control stick when you get on top of that little hill before the walls appear again, because you can lift off if you go too fast, and that just leads to speed loss, so hold up on the control stick. And keep on boosting to finish the race. Getting very close to that mine there. You can stay on the inside, that's just icing on the cake, you really don't have to do that. So I think 150 is a fair goal for this, but the staff ghost gets 155, and I think that should be fair enough. I get 144 on this run, so in potential you can get about 6 seconds under the goal, but that's not really realistic. So that's it for the easy way to beat the staff ghost by 11 seconds already, just by grip driving style. But what I explained, Rainbow Road has a lot of long twisting corners that are actually perfect for drifting. So that is what we will do in strategy 2. Yeah, if you stay in the middle of the minefield or gently steer through the refill strips to avoid the mines, that's of course going to be easier. And that's what I would definitely recommend everyone to do when they learn the strategy at first. And if you really want to push it, you can go on the inside the mines, but you probably want to switch over to the next strategy, and that's this one. There's a double tap dive that is optional. Definitely learn that before you move on to strategy 3, but let's watch it first. Alright, so a big jump in difficulty indeed. 5.5 out of 10 is very hard for strategy 2. But remember that double tap dive is optional, and that is really what pushes this difficulty up a lot. I would say it's maybe 4 out of 10 if you skip it, or 3.5 out of 10, something around that range. But of course you can win a lot of time with that double tap dive. So let's analyze it. As you notice, I'm picking the Night Thunder, and that is because there's no part in this run where we really need floating ability over ship. So for the first dive, let's pause it here. We just want to air drift left and then dive down and then preserve that speed for as long as possible. So a slightly heavier ship that is just a slightly better at drifting, because heavier ships are a little bit better at drifting, is very, very marginally better than the Bloodhawk, but it really doesn't matter. So how do we do the first dive? You want to drive off at the highest point immediately. So as you can see, I drive up at the absolute earliest instant when the rail disappears. What I'm holding, I'm basically drifting left and continuing that drift in the air. So we want to counter steer and dive down. And what I do is initially I'm holding up left to continue the drift to the left. Then I counter steer by moving the control stick up and up right, and then back up again to get out of the drifting motion and drive straight down to the left. That's the start of the dive. Counter steer right, up right, and then to up. To dive down, we do a double tap dive R, and we move the control stick initially upright because you really want to turn to the right to land back on the track. And then when our angle is right, or for the trajectory to land back on the track, I'm just holding up and mashing the R button. So this strategy is entirely copied from one of my favorite world records that was once a world record in the game by JKT. He did this exact strategy with the Night Thunder on Rainbow Road to get 133. That was a world record for several years, and when I started playing, that was just amazing to me that anyone could get a time like that. And I just love that strategy. Around the first corner you want to keep side attacking to keep your grip in the first lap, of course, to preserve the speed. And these corners are perfect for drifting, and this is where the Night Thunder will win. Very marginal amount of time compared to the Hellhawk, maybe like a hundredth of a second maximum, maybe even less. Take a good, nice, wide drifting line. Take advantage of the full width of the road. Stay on the inside here. And on this corner again, from the outside to the inside, you cannot fully go along the apex, it's too sharp for that. But we really want to keep our drifting line to take advantage of the full width of the road. This is the same as the previous strategy, you can just drive off the edge here, don't push it too far. You can't really do a double step dive or anything in lap 1. Not going fast enough. Then I'm using a long real drift on the right side into a regular drift around the corner. I don't really want a real drift here. You can get a better drifting line if you get away from the rail a little bit. Then I extend it to about the flag and then counter steer to exit the drift. Around this long corner we can stay on the inside and drift along the rail. It's definitely easier to drift on the inside than just drive with grip-based driving. Bounce into the rail a little bit here and there, that's okay. That actually helps build up your speed better. And then when the refiller ends and the drift, keep a straight line into lap 2. So lap 2 we start off the same way as lap 1. Don't boost, just drift off the edge and double tap dive down. And as you can see, I'm drifting into this corner with 2 boosts. And that's a little bit inefficient, so we will see later strategies don't do that. But you can see the maximum speed that you can possibly get while drifting is 1600 kilometers per hour. So I'm actually starting out faster than that. So I'm throwing away a little bit of energy. But you exit that corner going over 1600, slightly over 1600, and that you will not be able to do without boost drifting. So it's a very good way to keep a lot of speed out of the corner on the straightaway up to the next corner that you boost drift around. On this corner, wait a long time for just the right timing with your boost to go along its apex. If you boost too early, you can never make it. The corner is very sharp. It's definitely a tricky corner to drift. Here you can get a lot more airtime and get like 100 kilometers per hour more just by going into the air. I do 2 boosts around this corner. Be very careful not to touch the rail here. You will pretty much run out of energy here. Now what I do is I go into the filler, of course, at the first instant, but I just keep doing side attacks because you keep more speed that way than if you would drift around it. And then in this last filler on the outside, there's a good opportunity to do a long drift here to build up some speed into the final lap. Yeah, so more weight means that it's slightly faster building up speed and drifting, if everything else is the same, that is. So Night Thunder and Bloodhawk are almost identical, except Night Thunder is slightly heavier. That means that you can get like a few kilometers per hour more in a very good drift like this than what Bloodhawk would be able to get. It has a very slightly slower acceleration at the start, but you can more than make up for that on this track because there are so many long drifts that you have an advantage with as the driving with the Night Thunder. Yeah, so would Crazy Beer be better on a track like Big Hand? Well, we're not really talking about Big Hand, but if it had A boost, probably that's the right answer. So it can build up a slightly more speed while drifting, but the B boost probably holds it back from actually having advantage. And it, of course, initially it has significantly slower acceleration. You can make up to that with the drifting, but the B boost probably holds it back from being the best ship there. So in the final lap you want to keep drifting around the final corner, bounce into the rail a little bit to build up your speed just slightly more, and then keep on boosting to finish the race. And it has 130 potential, and that is very close to the world record already. So we're already very much closing on the world record, and this would already be a top 3 time. And there's so much more to do on this track. So yeah, that's strategy 2. So the double tap dive is optional. Just dive down like you did in strategy 1 initially, and the drifting will save you many seconds. And then start adding in the double tap dive as you go along, and you get better at that to get your time down a lot. And when you're ready to move on, you can go to strategy 3. This will be quite a bit harder. It's not much different in how I approach the track, but the double tap dive in the beginning is going to be quite a bit different. So let's watch it. Alright, so that's strategy 3. The potential 128, so it's already better than the world record. The main difference in this in the first double tap dive, so let's analyze it. So as you can see, I'm switching to the Bloodhawk now, because we have to float up a little bit, and you can float up better with lighter ships. And the more height, the better dive. So we start off with air control, and all I'm doing is holding down left, straighten the ship out, and then hold down to fly up. When the ship is straight, I DTZ, left side attack. I move the control stick down left to up left, and eventually to up for perfect nose down to the left diving angle. Starting out with the double tap dive right, holding up, and then up slightly right just to position the ship at the perfect landing spot. So what I really want to do is move off the right side of the track and then do some right side attacks to land back on it into the corner. So you're already steering into the corner, holding fully upright after you land. And that's gonna make that corner both easier to take without crashing into the sides. And it also prevents a very common problem with doing a double tap dive like this, is that if you enter the corner normally when you're on the track, you very often lift off, and that lift off totally destroys any speed you got from the double tap dive. So you lose many seconds from that. And if you drive to the right side to prevent that, to land in the corner, you can prevent losing your speed like that and take a tiny shortcut, of course. So these corners are just the same as the previous strategy. Try to extend your drift for as long and as wide as possible. Dive down here. Long rail drift on the right side. Extend it all the way until you bounce to the rail some more times, and then straighten out when you pass the flags. And then drift on the inside, just like the previous strategy. Bounce into the rail sometimes, just to keep that perfect drifting angle going. So when you enter lap 2 and 3, you do not want to boost, because it's easier to learn one setup for this double tap dive. And that's like the same setup from lap 1. Drift into this rail, then straighten out, float up a little bit. Left side attack, move the control stick down left to up. And then right side attack down. Go off the right side. Keep mashing that R button, hold upright on the control stick to turn into the corner while start attacking right. And you should be able to easily make that corner and exit the corner going over 1600. Maybe even over 1700 if you do it really well. And I always look at my speedometer when I do runs on this track for what is my speed when I exit the corner. It's a very good indicator, and for me, if you want a minimum is like 1600. If I go slower than 1600, I made a mistake somewhere. If I get 1700, I know I'm on a really good pace to potentially get a PB. So the boost management is a lot easier on this strategy, I would say, because we're not using any boost in the first corner at all. We're just side attacking through it, no boost, compared to the previous strategy where we used 2 boosts there. So you have a lot more energy left here. So I do 2 full boosts here around this corner. But in lap 2, I stick to that. And then just side attack through the refill strips. The first one and the second one. Keep as much speed as we can, and then boost drift through the third and fourth refillers. I bounce into the rail just a bit. And final lap is pretty much the same idea. Stay on the right side, start drifting once you pass the finish line. Into the rail just a bit, fainten out, float up. Set up your dive. And there we go. And this will, after some practice, this will really become second nature. And you can see I'm going well over 1700 when I exit the corner. That's the perfect scenario. Now these little dives off the sides, that's just icing on the cake. You really don't have to do that. But I like doing that to show off. Two boosts around this corner. Yeah, so if you get some damage somewhere or lose energy another way, you can definitely skip a place somewhere where you, with the boosting, and this would probably be the place to do that, to maybe only do one boost around the corner or 1.5, because we have a lot of energy on this one. If you can keep your boost going all the way into the refiller like this, we can exit the refiller going almost 1500 kilometers per hour straight to the finish, and that will also save you quite a bit of time if you can really keep a good speed boost drifting to the refillers. And there we go, 128. "27 seconds faster than Steph Ghost already, so the Steph Ghost is nowhere to be seen." But you can win another around 6 seconds on this track, just 6 whole seconds, with a few extra dives that you could possibly do. And I personally do all of these because I love this track, and they are just so much fun. So let's watch it first. So there we go, that's the fastest strategy on Rainbow Road that I know of that people actually use. And yeah, 9 out of 10, it's, you know, as you can see, it's pretty hard. You have to really got some major skills to be able to pull it off. And you have to know some really advanced moves like air ground glitch and so on. So let's analyze it. So we're starting out exactly the same as the last one. Float up here and set up your double tap dive. But the difficulty is that now doing this optimally becomes absolutely essential because we need a lot of speed. So exit this corner at around 1700. We need that to be able to lift off here and gain advantage out of another double tap dive you can do here. Drive off the left side and just hold down to float up. Then when you have some major height, left side attack, move the control stick down left to up left up to turn the ship around for a good double tap diving angle. And you want to land just in front of that corner there by right side attacks and holding up at this point. So when you float up, you really want to stay a little bit to the right, otherwise your landing position will be kind of troublesome. Now we're going to land at 2000 maximum, that is, so start a track through this corner and you exit going way faster than the 1000 or so kilometers per hour you would otherwise go if you just drift around it. Now here we can trigger the airground glitch. You do that by driving into the left rail. Right before I hit the left rail, I'm start to hold down left on the control stick, move it to down and then down right to straighten out, float up. I do a right side attack, move the control stick down right and then down just to get some height. Then I counter steer to make the ship straight, ready for a turn to the left. And in this left turn I do a left side attack and keep holding down left on the control stick for a while to really turn around here. And then keep holding down on the control stick. And very important here is to tap the A button regularly for your gas to prevent losing grip while drifting up like this. That's a characteristic of the airground glitch. Now all I do to set up the double tap dive is really hold down left to up left on the control stick to turn the ship around, nose the ship down left, then just hold up and mash the R button. The timing of this is essential and it's very tricky because it's hard to see the road ahead of you. And you want to land, of course, on the lowest possible spot. So this is a very tough dive and this is what makes it around 9 out of 10 difficulty among the harder strategies in the game. Keep holding up here because you will definitely lift off. And there's not really anything useful you can do with that lift off here. So we just want to prevent speed loss. Now if you do it really well, you're going super fast when you approach this corner. You want to keep side attacking to keep your grip because that's faster than drifting up to about this point. And then you want to drift into the rail and just drift a little bit to build up some speed, ready for lap 2. Yeah, so all the really difficult things are in lap 1. So if you can do lap 1 well, you can win several seconds over the previous strategy, and I even get a 29 opener, which is insane. Yeah, so the start of lap 2 is the same dive as we always do. Lap 2 is not going to be too interesting up until the last point. So it's about the same stuff that we did in the last strategy. Yeah, so you can cut this corner a little bit. That's just, swag, icing on the cake. There's no need to do that. I want to start drifting this corner from the right side. That's just a little bit easier. It doesn't really matter much. 2 boost drifts. Yeah, I don't do airground glitch in lap 2. I mean, you can do that, but you need to have some major skills to be able to take any advantage away from that, so it's not worth it. So we have a lot of energy left. I do 2 boosts around this corner and then just side attack to the first part of the refiller. And then from the second refiller all the way on the left side, start a drift to the left, going through the third refiller as wide and as long as possible. And straighten out when you exit to the fourth refiller. Now we can do a very cool trick, and that is set up another double tap dive via floating. So you set up your floating angle, just do one right side attack and just move right of the road and just set up a floating angle. A good floating angle, and you have 1 boost going from before you start floating. And then right before I cross the finish line through the air, so you lose a bit of time from the floating, I will down left to left, a little bit to up left and then up. And when your angle is just right, you double tap dive right by holding up or sliding up right to land on the perfect spot. So the time loss from the floating you can more than make up with how you approach lap 3. So now we're actually landing at 3000 kilometers per hour easily here. And we're going so fast that you can float up just a little bit over this corner, and then I'm just holding fully upright, meshing the orbit and just turning in the air basically, because you can turn sharper in the air than when you would be on the road. You exit this corner going 1800, so about 100 kilometers per hour faster than you could otherwise possibly get. Combined with the 3000 kilometers per hour insane dive into lap 3, you win quite a bit of time in lap 3. Just doing that, and it's not that hard, but definitely a lot harder than the regular dive. I personally did this dive in my PB. At the time was a world record, just because of this. Yeah, and finished the race like normal. Yeah, so landing on the track is hard, but definitely doable. I did it in my personal best run. What is actually harder than landing on the right spot is really taking advantage of it. So flying through the corner, landing at the corner without hitting the walls, going really faster than you could otherwise go. And if you do it well, you can definitely win some good time with it. And there we go, the fastest strategy in Rainbow Road, 122 potential. The world record is like 128.9. So there's a lot of time to win on this track compared to the world record, if you can do these dives. Fantastic track. And well, that's all there's to it. So you keep really building on strategies. That's it. That's it for Rainbow Road.